That's more like it, isn't it, Houston? Because 2017 certainly was a disappointing lost season with the injuries to guys like J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, and then, of course, your hotshot rookie quarterback, Deshaun Watson. It all went downhill from there. But the hope being is that J.J. Watt will return and finally be healthy for the first time in a couple of seasons. Deshaun Watson would be healthy and show you more of the flashes that made him such a promising quarterback as a rookie. Maybe that seat that was getting warm for Bill O'Brien would cool off a little bit. Maybe this team would piece it together. And then they came out of the gate very sluggish, starting off 0-3. And it looked like we were heading for disaster. Deshaun Watson was looking more like DeSham or DeFraud Watson, frankly. And this team was finding ways to lose games, and it was not looking good. It's not that often that a team not only starts 0-2 and makes the playoffs, this team started off 0-3. So like whereas the Seahawks start off 0-2, make the playoffs. That is still somewhat historic because a lot of teams don't do that. The vast majority that start off 0-2 don't. Well, the list gets much, much, much smaller when you talk about teams that start off a season 0-3. And to think that the Houston Texans would go from that point to then winning 9 in a row. Sure, I think in that span, there were some pretty soft opponents on there. There were some wins that even when you look at them, they're kind of questionable, like, is this Texas team really that good? But the bottom line is to go from 0-3 to 9-3, win 11 of your last 13, so you finish the season 11-5, and you win your division after that type of start with so many questions heading into this season was really nice work by everybody involved with the Houston Texans. And for Christ's sakes, Bill O'Brien won more than 9 games for a change. How about that? The sea has cooled for him, at least for the time being. But I'm sorry, it felt like Bill O'Brien struck in the playoff game at home against the divisional rival in the Colts. Because the Colts came in there and just smacked him in the fucking mouths. That's exactly what happened. They smacked him in the fucking mouths early. Deshaun Watson wasn't great. That defense of the Texans got lit up early, and Bill O'Brien looked like he had no idea what the hell to do. And never even got that idea of what the hell to do, frankly. So for a Texans team with the young star quarterback, J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, it was a good season, but maybe if you were a Texans fan, you felt like they could have done a little bit more. But at the same token, how good were they really? I mean, like offensively, they were 12th in total yards per game. Deshaun Watson had a great second season by all accounts. Coming back from a torn ACL, 68% of his passes complete, over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. And you talk about still going for over 500 yards on the ground, throwing to 5 touchdowns there. I mean, Deshaun Watson in year 2 was what you hope him to be as the long-term answer at the quarterback position that the Texans have truly been seeking since they came into existence. David Carr wasn't that dude. Matt Schaub was a few years of a temporary thing. But Deshaun Watson looks like he could be the real deal for them for the next 10 to 15 years. And then you got, of course, DeAndre Hopkins. What more can you say about Nuke? He's a stud. He's elite, period. 115 catches, over 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns. This guy is just a monster. He is just a monster, and he's so much fun to watch. I wonder right now, how many receivers in the league, if any, would you take over DeAndre Hopkins? Would you take anybody over him? I don't know. Defensively, this team was really good against the run, and they were terrible against the pass, which is crazy considering they could get some pressure. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney had 9 sacks in a contract year, so a good, solid season for him. And then J.J. Watt, you think about it. If it wasn't for Aaron Donald and his season that he had, 20.5 sacks, J.J. Watt might be talked about as Defensive Player of the Year. If Andrew Luck didn't have his great comeback season for the Colts this year, J.J. Watt might also be talked about as Comeback Player of the Year. To come back after 2 years of hardly any action and throw out there a 16-sack season and be back to being the force that you were in years past just reminds you of just how special of a player J.J. Watt is And when his career is over, he will only have to wait 5 years before he gets that first ballot induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was a great thing to see. Like, I'm always a big guy on, stars and truly, truly special players, like the truly elite. Regardless of who they play for, regardless of what sport, we should appreciate them as much as we can because they're fleeting. That's why they're special. We only get to see them for a period of time. So when you see a guy like an Aaron Donald, you appreciate him. Khalil Mack, you appreciate him. Von Miller, you appreciate him. Bobby Wagner, you appreciate him. And then you come here in J.J. Watt, and there most certainly should be appreciation for him and the studliness that he has. My goodness. And what's crazy about this Texans team is they didn't get a lot of help out of this year's draft because of some other moves they had made. The trading up the year before to get Deshaun Watson cost them a first-round pick, They still got some contributions out of the class. Justin Reed, third-round pick. He should have never dropped to round 3, but he did, and it worked out well for the Texans. He's a long-term impact player for them in that secondary. Kiki Kuti, when you look at QT, you got to say, for where you drafted him, gave you some nice production. He really, really did. And even in a year where you're not expecting anything out of a draft class, to be able to get a couple of guys that can come in to contribute, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Heading into the offseason, the Texans have $75 million or so in salary cap space. Not a ton of notable guys that they need to retain. Obviously, question number one will be, are they going to pay Jadeveon Clowney big-time money? You would think they'll either get a long-term deal done with him or they'll put the franchise tag on him because you might as well at this point. You've got the cap space. No, he's not Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack, but he's still a really damn good Pro Bowl level player in this league, and those guys don't grow on trees. So you have to retain him. Then you got guys like Christian Covington. You would assume you'd want to re-sign him and bring him back into the fold. Kareem Jackson, Honey Badger. Are you going to bring those guys back? You most certainly have the salary cap space to do it. Look at this Texans team, and with the great season you got, the healthy season you got out of Deshaun Watson, the great healthy season you got out of J.J. Watt, you got to feel good with that cap space combination that there are people that are going to want to come and play for the Houston Texans. Now, this team could go out there and get an impact difference maker or two, or get some more depth on both sides of the ball and really make a run at this thing in 2019. In terms of their team needs, I'm sorry, but offensive tackle, it was great for them, the Dwayne Brown trade, in the sense that they get a second-round pick additional from Seattle in this year's draft, but still, you got to be able to protect Deshaun Watson long-term. And do you really have confidence in that offensive line? Like, to me, there should be a heavy investment by the Texans in this offseason, but perhaps between free agency and the draft, to really beef up that offensive line in front of Deshaun Watson. Then they've got to figure out what they're going to do with the running back position. Because I'm sorry, they don't have a difference maker there. When you talk about Alfred Blue and Deontay Foreman, nobody that really inspires fear. And for this type of team and this type of offense, you'd like to see them have that multi-purpose gadget back that can do everything. And does that come in the form of signing a guy like Le'Veon Bell? Now, if you're a Le'Veon Bell and you look at situations and you would say to yourself, man, maybe the Jets would overpay me more or another team like the Colts would pay me more. But I really like this Texans situation with Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, a bunch of studs on defense. There's a clear and present need for a 3-down back like that. Or do you sit there and try to draft that guy? Is it a Joshua Jacobs from Alabama, or is it somebody else a little bit later? If you get a running back that can be an impact player in that Texans offense, that offense is going to be really scary next season. And then if you add in a competent tight end into the mix, somebody that can make some big plays for you, woo-wee, they're going to be next level. And I know you look at this team and you could say, well, their pass defense needs to get better, and it most certainly does. But to me, the most gaping voids that I see on this team are on the offensive side of the ball. And again, because you have Deshaun Watson, you have him under that rookie contract for another 3 years or so. Now is the time to really beef up the talent around him, put him in as much of a no-fail situation as possible, because you have that window of time here where you could potentially, as crazy as it sounds, contend for a Super Bowl. Use those draft picks, use that cap space, really load up, and give Deshaun Watson every possibility and chance to shine and be a star.